There's fish all over up here. There's one.
Didn't take long.
No. Like, there's fish all over up here. Feels like a good one too, Ty.
New net?
I think it will be a nettable model.
Nice. We like those
Tough
kind of
customer,
models.
yeah. Yeah. A little rockier on top, and yeah, they really are tough customers. Beautiful walleye.
That's a good one. Oh, that's a really good one, Jared.
Sweet.
Nice
All
work.
right.
That's a good start.
Oh, yeah.
Got it?
Yep, there we go. Excellent, excellent, excellent. What a fun mission that Ty and I are on. We are in what many would consider to be the far north, northern Manitoba. We're staying at Viking Lodge on the Cranberry Chain of Lakes, and it's our first morning out, one of our first spots. Bingo bango, Canadian gold, right there. So this is gonna be a fun trip. We're gonna primarily target walleyes, but the system has lake trout, it's got northern pike, and of course lots of walleye. So I think this is gonna be a fun couple days catching lots of beautiful fish like this.
Closed captioning is provided by Smooth Moves, adjustable boat seat suspensions for a smoother ride.
North of the 53rd parallel is the vast top half of the province of Manitoba. Untamed wilderness with countless lakes and rivers define this sprawling landscape. Its signature species are northern pike, lake trout, Arctic grayling, and of course, walleye. Recognized as Manitoba's official provincial fish, the walleye is the most sought-after species within the province, and one of the reasons we've driven 500 miles north of the border to Viking Lodge. In operation since the 1950s, it's a well-established camp located at the headwaters of the Grass River system on First Cranberry Lake. From the dock, you have access to 52 miles of northern pike, lake trout, and walleye water to explore.
There we go.
Got one?
Look, you're finding them now, Jer, huh?
What'd you get them on?
Jigging of plastics, if you can imagine that. One of the most versatile baits out there for walleyes. I think this is a nicer one, maybe?
Sweet.
It's tough to tell, I just good fighters out here.
Sweet, nice fish, just average is great.
Take that average all day. Look at that beauty, huh? You can find an average sized walleye like that. That's a lot of fun to catch. You know, Jared and I were using all different kinds of baits to catch walleyes today. And even when you're talking about jigs with plastics, let me get this one back real quick. You're talking about jigs, you got jigs and plastics, jigs and minnows, you got hair jigs, but even jigs themselves, like Jared's using a little bit lighter jig with a soft plastic like this from Big Bite as well, and he was just swimming his along. I'm using a little bit heavier. I'm doing more of a snap jigging and then swimming along that way too. They're both equally effective, and it's just, you gotta find out what those fish want. It seems like they want it both ways right now.
And bam.
Jeez, huh? Just like it's swimming.
Yeah. You know, there's a number of options when it comes to, of course, walleye fishing, but hands down the number one option is the old jig. You just can't beat it. And this is a jig in a plastic here, and we've got a couple baits on the deck right now. The first one, of course, being the jig, but we're also fishing the jigging wrap, the jig and shadow wrap. And when you get in rocky stuff, you gotta have the jig at the ready. Whoa. But when you're fishing a little more sand and that kind of stuff, it's definitely worth having the jigging wraps. So, boom. Right there, that's that Big Bite Slim Minnow and that Sensation deal, Sensation. We prototyped this stuff last year and absolutely kicked the snot out of the big walleyes on this. They absolutely love it. So one of those things just super glued on there. It's all you need.
There we go. There's a walleye, Jared. It actually feels pretty decent, but it's tough to tell. They seem like they're real good fighters in this lake.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a good fish.
Nettable?
I think so. Yeah, why not? We got the net on the deck. Walleye. Thank you, sir.
Gotcha.
Appreciate you. Well, that was really cool. You know, like Jared was saying, you definitely need to have a bunch of different baits on the deck. When we first got out here, it was pretty windy. Look at that guy, that's a beautiful Manitoba walleye. Seemed like it laid down. We got into some rocks and we're using, you know, jigging plastic really as a finesse presentation. These fish are really reacting to that. a good one. Catch a bunch more. There she goes.
This segment is brought to you by Wavy Label Eyewear. Backed by a lifetime warranty, we see what others don't.
Oh, that was awesome. I just watched my line jump. Bam! This one was on the Jigging Shadow Rap. It's kind of a, you know, when you look at that series of glide baits, it's interesting to me. In the Rapala lineup, you've got the Jigging Rap, which is, of course, the most famous. The flat jig, another great bait for fishing, you know, quite a bit deeper. And then this is the newest lineup to it. This is the Jigging Shadow Rap. They all have different actions, and this one's got more of like a hang and a glide to it. It's, you know, been pretty darn effective. All right, here you go, walleye.
There you go, buddy.
Bam, thank you. Show you this walleye. Awesome fish. Boy, just a great size up here, huh? Whoa, whoa. That's how you do it. So as I was talking about the family of, you know, this would really be considered a glide bait is what it's called now. We've got the Jigging Rap, the flat jig, we've got the Snap Rap, and then this is the newest one, like I said, the Jigging Shadow Rap, and they are not all the same bait. I mean, a lot of people think, oh, you know, you just get this glide bait and they're all the same. Well, they're not. They have different fall rates, they move differently, and the Shadow Rap jig that I'm fishing right now, it's got a couple advantages for this type of water. One, we're throwing up right now into like 12 to 16 feet of water on top of rocks. It doesn't have the front hook like the Jigging Rap has. It can often get snagged, and additionally it falls a bit slower. It's not as dense for its size as a Jigging Rap or a flat jig, which are all lead. This has got more plastic on it, and it's got that nice little hang. The sides are flat, so when the bait comes up, it just hangs on its side for a split second and then falls. And I found this to be a really, really great add-on to your, you know, collection of glide baits. And so right now for the shallower, not super bouldery water, this has been a really great bait to have up here. So got great purchase with the big hook in the back and then double split rings on the bottom to prevent the fish getting leverage. So definitely worthwhile having a few of these in the boat.
Oh, I got one. Boy, it's really fun when you can open your tackle box up and pretty much catch a walleye at every single bait that you've been throwing. You got this one on the Jigging Rap, which is actually one of my favorite baits to fish for walleyes. That's a nicer fish. I'm gonna get
Nice one?
net for that one, I think. Ooh, that's
Ate it.
another one.
Well, that's a really great fish,
man,
Ty.
look at that, huh? Look at that. Whew,
Wow,
stocky,
nice fish.
stocky fish. So let me show you the rod that we're using to catch these fish with this technique. And this is actually a Legend Tournament Walleye Series Jigging Rap rod, so it's specifically for jig rap fishing for that technique. So St. Croix has got a few other lines of rods in their lineup. Besides this Legend Tournament Walleye, they've got the Icon series, they've got the Avid Walleye series. So when you're talking about this rod in particular, it's ergonomically designed from the handle to the guides to the power of the blank. So if you look at this handle, it's perfectly designed for jig rap fishing when you have your whole hand in front of the reel seat. And the reason I do that, number one, you get good leverage, but it also limits the fatigue in your wrist, arm, and your elbow. Now this particular Jigging Rap rod is a 7'1", medium power, moderately fast action. So the length of the rod is extremely important. When you're ripping that Jigging Rap, you usually have some slack in your line, and that length of that rod picks up that line slack really quickly. Now the medium power is great because you got the nice backbone. When you're talking about the action, if you look at the bend in that rod, it goes further back in the blank, which is important when you're talking about Jigging Raps. If you look at the hooks on that, they're really small. There's not a lot of real estate to drive that hook into the fish's mouth. So to have that cushion on there, you don't pull hooks out of their mouth when you're fighting those fish and they're making those big runs.
Look at the drag.
Fill her up with water and away they go.
They're walleye.
Well, I guess they are.
They are walleye. They are walleye, Ty.
Oh,
Just a
yes.
great average, isn't
It's
it?
a nice fish.
Just gotta sneak in and grab the net. Thank you, sir. Wow, that's a good one.
It's a really nice fish. There.
Jeez.
It's
You
nicer
just
than
catch so many of them.
It's
It's
nicer
kind
than
of
you
like,
think.
oh, it's another one, it's another one, it's another one. Popped off, another jigging shadow wrap fish. That's a great bait. I'm telling you what, for the shallower water, what an awesome tool. Look at that. Unbelievable. It's been really fun. You know, surprisingly, this is trout water here. There's lake trout in this lake. And I would think, you know, it's middle of August right now. You'd think that the fish would be in like 25 to 35 feet. But we've been catching most of our fish, I would say, in, what would you say, Ty, like 12 to 20 has been really the hot spot.
Pretty much all
These
of them.
fish in this clear water, they'll be right up there. So get this one back and get a couple more. What a great critter.
So that was on a number 8 shad wrap.
Your style of boat control is really key.
One that was there from the very beginning.
You want to be able to see in the water. The adventure begins.
We are loaded for bear. We got
You know,
bites.
there's so many different ways to fish for walleye. Dependability and efficiency.
Simple, fast, and easy.
The best rods on the planet.
Bang, 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 bang. Walleye. Oh, I got him right underneath the boat. That was super cool. I watched him come up and just bam. Bingo, bango.
I'm liking that shadow wrap, aren't they?
They are, yeah. You know, if you've seen it where, you know, somebody's fishing an 1/8 ounce jig and then somebody's fishing a 1/4 ounce jig, and the drop speed makes a big difference in the jig weights you're fishing. It's almost the same thing, you know, with the jigging wrap versus the shadow wrap. And right now, I think the same thing. I think it's this slightly slower drop speed. It has a different action than the jigging wrap, and they seem to be liking it. Oh, it's just like another one of those, you know, 4-pound walleyes that you just catch every stinking cast. Just don't even net them anymore. All right, yeah, just don't even net these things anymore because they're just one after the other. Yeah, huh? Super cool fish, aren't they?
There we go. Finally. Hooked up.
Almost a double.
Almost a double.
Good one?
They're all good, I think. It's really interesting. I mean, what we do in this boat is we always have multiple baits hooked up. Jared's running the jig and shadow wrap, and I'm running the jig and wrap right now. It seems like he's outproducing the jig and wrap, and yesterday I was outproducing him with the jig and wrap. So it's just the mood of the fish is always changing from day to day and from even throughout the day. So it's always a good thing to have multiple baits hooked up. We got jig and shadow wraps, we got jigging wraps, we've got jig and plastic. We got a number of different presentations. Get him back.
Bam, just like that. The line just straightened out. That was super cool. That was super cool. That's where the high vis line really comes into play when you're fishing these slackline applications like the jig and wrap or the shadow wrap. It's so nice to see it. So this is 10-pound Suffix 832. This is kind of my go-to line for a lot of spinning reel applications. And then I've got the 832, and then I've got a little swivel right here, and then that goes to 12-pound fluorocarbon, and 12 is just a nice pound test for this type of stuff when you're fishing around the rocks and whatnot. There we go. Another nice walleye. Woo! All right, so yeah, with the leader, you don't want it to be too terribly long, and that's just simply for casting. So I've got probably 18 inches to 2 feet on here, and then that little rolling swivel's the program for it. Another really key piece of equipment for this deal is of course the reel. Now I'm fishing this is a Daiwa Ballistic MQ, a super sweet reel. It's got the big gear as the main frame, but one thing Daiwa has done with their spinning reels, which is pretty cool, is you'll see some of them that are labeled XH, and that's a high speed reel. So most spinning reels are typically geared at like a 4.7, but Daiwa actually has spinning reels that are geared faster, which is, you know, something that's been traditionally only in bait casting equipment. And that's really big for the slackline fishing like this, because I'm watching the bait fall, and the last fish I caught, I saw it jump. But at 2,500, I can pick up line almost as fast as I could with, say, a 4,000 or a 3,000 size reel. So you're able to pick up that slack really quick and then bam, get tight on the fish. So if you're doing these slackline presentations, jerk bait fishing, jig and wrap fishing, look for the reels that have the XH on the back of them, because they really are a useful tool for this. Ty, there's a whole pile of them, right?
I just missed one.
Just missed one?
Yeah.
They like to eat when you're throwing the right thing.
You don't have all bluebird flat calm days.
Just a perfect eating size fish. See, that's what I'm talking about, these Daiwa drags.
We got walleye stuff, we got crappie stuff, we got pike stuff.
This boat is rigged up about as nice.
Easy to use, and it flat out works.
It's a must-have when you're talking about big waves. Well, these trout are so darn tough.
This bait is legendary.
Got him, huh?
That was cool. I watched them, I thought it was bait, and then I kind of watched them. They must not have seen it, but with the live, you can actually see the fish behave. So they're up like a foot off the bottom, and then all of a sudden they all ran down to the bottom. I was like, oh, those are walleye. And they're big walleye.
Nice
Look
one,
at
huh?
that sucker, holy cow. That's a great big one, Ty.
Nice, good job, Jer. I'll net it for you.
And almost a disaster. Getting my line wrapped around the rod tip. Cool, thank you, sir.
Oh, popped right off.
Yeah, that's great. All right, I can't say enough about this jig and chatter wrap. This has definitely become one of my favorites. Again, it's another, tool to have in the toolbox. It behaves way differently than the, than the jigging wrap does, and I tend to fish it just slightly different. With the jigging wrap, I like to really snap it. And this is almost more of like a slower pull and lift, and then letting it glide back down. Ooh, Ty just missed one, but it's awesome for the shallower stuff. I really, really like it for that like 12 to 20 feet. It just seems like it's a magical bait in that zone. In love with it, and it's been catching a lot of fish like this. Right. Man, this lake is absolutely jam-packed with these fish. What a fantastic, fantastic spot this is. Woo! Fish in heaven, baby. Let's get this guy back.
Every year I accumulate some emails that I keep on file that I think would be really, really good to do a close like this on. Well, I'm going to read you one that I just got a few days ago, actually, not that many days ago. And I tried to reach back to the gentleman 4 different times. And you'll know why he didn't respond immediately. Ironically, he sent me an email back this morning, and I couldn't believe it when I seen it. I'm going to converse with him. We're going to have a phone conversation here next couple of days after 4 o'clock. You'll know more after I read this to you. I've watched your shows since I was a kid. Having grown up with a religious faith shoved down my throat, I became agnostic. But I always listened to the prayer and your thoughts at the end of the show. I've heard your testimony about your wife's health issues and how God in prayer got you through. My wife, only 46 years old, is suffering from liver and kidney failure. She's very sick and on dialysis. She's been in the hospital for 2 months now. I also have 3 children at home, and we are all taking this very hard. I began to pray. I haven't done that since high school. I'm a realist. My wife may never come home. At the same time, I feel she needs more than doctors and hospitals. My question is, how is your faith so strong? I'm falling apart, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. I guess I'm looking for answers, and I'm very afraid. I feel I need to get close to God, but I also have anger towards everyone. I'm on the fence. I want to believe a miracle will happen, but I'm so negative about her condition. So I'm crying out to you as a man of deep conviction. This is why I'm reaching out. I don't trust those preachers or priests. I'm asking for some advice and prayers. Am I praying right? Is God real? Does he hear me? I'm so depressed and my head is spinning. I'm a hypocrite for turning to God when things are bad, turning my back on him when things are good. If this message gets to you, please pray for us. I know you can relate. This is the hardest thing I've ever done. Anything will help. Tight lines. Think you had a tough week? How about a tough couple weeks? Those are kind of stories that really touch your heart, but they're happening to people all over the world on a daily basis. I haven't had an opportunity to talk with him yet. We just touched base finally this morning before I'm doing this close. And I'm thinking, what can I share with him? All I can do is share from my heart, and we have a lot in common in what he has here. What he said here, I got a lot in common with the whole thing. I can share with him from my personal experience with my wife, business, life in general, you know, the ups and downs, the challenges that we all face. Encourage him, don't run from God, run to God. Come to him. And I could see the way he's searching right now. The Spirit of God is talking to him. He's looking, am I praying right? I want to know. Please tell me something. God's going to answer that cry out. He's going to answer that. I don't know what part I'm going to play in this, but I'm going to know, I know for sure that I'm going to be a nucleus of making this happen. I can't wait to talk to him. This might be an ongoing conversation for months ahead to help walk him through this. But I know that the Spirit of God is knocking on his door right now because he does love him, he does care about him, and his entire family. Tough days. You think you had a tough week, like I said? There's people that are dealing with stuff that you can't even imagine, and this is a pretty good example of it. Hey, pray for me. Say a prayer for me that I help this guy through this. Hey, from all of us here at The Edge, you have a good, safe fishing season. We'll see you on the water.